Alright, now we are in our very last visual that we are going to learn today is basically something what we call as a tree map. So what is tree map is basically, let's just Google this one first. Let me just find something bigger. Alright, so what is Treemap is basically, is it this? I think this one is better. Alright, so what is Treemap is basically we have a specific boxes or specific grid, right? And the size is depending on the values. So never mind, I think this one is not a very good example. I'll just show this one. This is one of the example, right? The example is in here, let's say the values that we care, or the numerical values that we care is, if I'm not mistaken, this one is sum of sales or some percentage of whatsoever, right? So the concept is technically the higher the value, the bigger the size. That's why if you can see this one, you comparing with this one is bigger than this one. The laptop is bigger than phones. Maybe some of you guys may questioning then why this one, right? Something like this one, 12.2% is bigger than 13%. Okay, I think that is not a good example. Why does 3.5% over here is bigger than 4.6%? Technically, it looks bigger, right? The reason is because it is actually partitioned within the categories. Alright, so this one have three different categories. The blue one is category technology. The orange one is within category of furniture, and the yellow one is in the category of office supplies. So it is actually comparing between themselves and also at the same time between categories. So in this case, if you notice, right, the column for technology is biggest one is because of the total sales. The sum of sales here is bigger for technology compared to furniture and office supplies. For furniture, it is second bigger is because of total sum sales. For furniture is bigger than office supplies, and office supply do have the lowest number of sum sales. That's why it has a smallest compared to furniture columns as well as technology. Alright, so that is just extra context. Now we wanted to learn how can we draw something like this. Alright, this is relatively quite straightforward because we do not have row and columns. If you notice, this one doesn't really have any row and columns. This one is playing with shape. Alright, so the very first thing is we need to identify which numerical that we wanted to define or we wanted to measure here. So the concept is, let's say if I choose profits, right? I'll just choose profit. That one is simple. Or maybe quantity. Okay, maybe quantity. Alright, so if I choose quantity, right, if a certain aspect, if certain dimension do have higher number of quantity, right, then the size of the square is going to be bigger compared to the other one, alright, to the other dimension. So the very first thing is you just drag this quantity to size. Alright, just drag quantity to size. In this case, they are using some sales, but I'm using some quantity. Alright, so that is the very first one. The second one is we wanted to define each of them based on colors, so we put category on color. Alright, now we get exactly something like this. Alright, so just bear in mind this one. Okay, never mind. Alright, so we get something like this, right? Now we have to put labels to each one of these ones so that everything is a lot more clearer. So how can we put labels so we know everything is? We can put category here to test, and we can put some quantity. Where is some quantity? Some quantity. Quantity to label as well. Alright, now we can see a lot more clearer the reason why office supply is biggest square is because of it has 36,959 quantity items sold compared to furniture and technology. All right, so that is the reason why this one is the largest quorums. Now the next thing is, let's say if we wanted to make it subcategories, right? Each one of this one is having subcategories. We wanted to make it even more granular, right? What we can do is we can just like drag these subcategories into detail. All right, so what we will get is we will get something like this. But again, we do not want each one of this one labeled with office supplies, right? This one office supply, this one is office supply, this one is office supply, this one is office supply. I think that one is inaccurate. So what we can do is we can just remove category from label, and we can put subcategories into label. Then we know each one of this one belong to which subcategories. All right, so I think that's it for Treemap. It's quite straightforward. Let's say if you wanted to even make it more granular, you can just like simply put order, if I'm not mistaken, order ID into details, and this is what happened. All right, so we know the biggest order in office supplies quantity, right, is this order 07251, because of it is located at the top left corner. All right, and the size is actually the highest one. Let's compare to the one next to this one, right? This order ID is only 14. All right, so that is the reason why this one is the having the biggest size of square. All right, so I think that's it for Treemap. I'll just like remove the order ID back so that it is a lot more clearer. So I think that's it. If there is any question, you can ask me in the class. If there is no question, then that's good. All right, so see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.